thank you everybody for coming out tonight. This is the second public meeting of the Abington Township Climate Action Plan. Tonight we're going to be focusing on climate action strategies. My name is John Spiegelman, and despite my completely out of control hair, I am actually a Township Commissioner for Ward 11 and also the President of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. And it is my pleasure and honor to welcome everybody here tonight. Our agenda tonight, and I promise I'm not going to talk too long, but our agenda tonight, we're going to recap everything that happened in the first meeting, which was a rich and very content-full meeting. And I'm actually going to jump. Oh, there. Oh, good. Thank you for putting the slide back up. Our presenters are going to talk about some examples of climate action strategies. And go over how to provide input. There's a community survey that many folks may have already seen in conjunction with the announcement of tonight's meeting. That is going to be online through July 1st, and there will be links to that. There are links to that posted on the Township website, on Township social media. I'm going to be putting it in my newsletter again, and it'll certainly be here in tonight's PowerPoint. And by the way, as with the first meeting, everything on tonight's PowerPoint is going to be made available, so you don't have to rush and take notes. You can really just kind of listen, take in everything that everybody's saying. So we're also going to be talking about community mapping of climate issues and impact. Tonight there's going to be some, just like last time, some online polling, some flash polling to help us prioritize, group and prioritize strategies. And then we're going to be talking about community discussions and strategies in our Q&A session. And then, of course, as always, next steps and how to keep everybody involved. And you'll see here, and this is something you can refer to the PowerPoint. We have the guiding principles of our Board of Commissioners, which are, of course, very much in keeping with having a climate plan and taking care of the environment of our township and the world beyond it. And then we also have, if you could jump to the perfect information about the Ready for 100 Clean Energy Resolution that we very proudly passed in 2019. Our vision for 100% clean energy future for our entire township. And finally, if you could jump to our partners. Now, folks who were here for the first meeting will note that our list of partners on this slide has gotten a lot more crowded in the best possible way. Means that more and more organizations and community groups are getting involved in partnering with us in support of our climate action plan. And I know this looks like a very crowded slide, but there is always room for more. We will go to a second, a third slide if necessary. So if you don't see your organization's logo here, there is absolutely time to get involved and become one of our collaborative partners. With that, it is my absolute honor to introduce someone who, speaking of collaborative partners, has truly started her tenure as Penn State Abington's new chancellor, I should say, Pennsylvania State University Abington campus's new chancellor, by indicating her incredible enthusiasm and vision for collaborating with groups throughout our community, and with making the bond and partnership between Penn State Abington and Abington Township stronger and more expansive than ever. So it is my great honor to introduce the Chancellor of Penn State Abington, Dr. Margot Della Carpini.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Spiegelman. It's my pleasure to be here and to meet everyone and to have the opportunity to talk about Penn State Abington's commitment to sustainability and how we can collaborate with the community on this very critical initiative. As Commissioner Spiegelman said, as a leader in higher education and a faculty member for many years prior to that, one of my areas of focus was campus and community collaboration and really understanding the needs of the community so that the resources of the campus, of the college, of the university can be leveraged to achieve those common goals. And at Abington, as you all know, I've only been here since January, but Penn State Abington is an integral part of the community, and we want to be the best partner and the best neighbor that we can be. And Penn State is completely committed to sustainability and climate action. And Penn State centers sustainability in our strategic plan. We have 6 foundations and 5 thematic priorities. One of the foundations is ensuring a sustainable future. And one of the 5 thematic priorities is stewarding our planet's resources. So Penn State is really committed to leadership in creating a comprehensive solution or set of solutions that address the impacts of climate change and other challenges facing us around providing safe and abundant water, clean and renewable energy sources, and plentiful and nutritious food. So we really are looking at this holistically. And I believe that colleges and universities can and should play a large role in advancing sustainability efforts and partnering with their communities to broaden the impact. When we each do something alone, it can get done, but when we take collective action and do it together, we can make a huge impact, and we can leverage each other's strengths and resources. And I think by working towards, especially on college campuses, working towards green and carbon neutral campuses, by addressing waste management issues, by moving towards sustainable dining options, college campuses can adopt sustainable operations, they can improve efficiency, they can conserve resources, and as a result have a great and positive impact in the community's efforts. And Penn State Abington is truly committed to these efforts around a sustainable campus and a green campus. And again, prior to my arrival, so I can take no credit for the beginning of it, but I certainly will be a part of sustaining it. In 2018, the Lionsgate Student Housing at Penn State Abington earned a LEED Gold certification from the U.S. Green Building Council for the building's sustainable design and its environmental performance. And LEED, as I found out, stands for the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a widely recognized green building rating system in the world, and it's really become a globally recognized symbol of sustainability achievement. And we're very proud of this and of the positive impact it has not only on our campus, but on the whole Abington community. Colleges and universities are also developing what we call green degrees or green certificates that focus on sustainable cities, urban planning, environmental studies, just to name a few. So we can also respond as a campus and a university to the need to focus on climate change, to focus on sustainability, on environmental topics, and really help advance the development of the green infrastructure, which is so important to making sure that our efforts actually are operationalized. And also our research and engagement at Penn State Abington can play an important role in addressing the priorities that are identified by the community. And I want to say 2 things about that. I think that as we think collectively about how to work together, my goals are to hear from the community and to think about what the resources are at the university, what the expertise is at the university to help solve the problems that you as a community identify. Of course, our sustainable and green campus is a huge initiative, and that's an effort on our part. But what is it the community needs from us, and how do we go about working collaboratively to solve and identify those problems and then solve them? At Penn State Abington, we currently have green teams, which is a Penn State initiative, and these are focused on a number of critical issues. And we have also developed a sustainability council, and that council will begin its work this upcoming academic year. And these councils are across the Penn State ecosystem, and they play a really key role in identifying both short and long-term sustainability goals and strategies. We will be creating a sustainability charter for the campus, but this is not done in a one-size-fits-all approach. It's done in a way that's aligned with the unique mission of the campus, our goals, where we're situated. So it has to happen in collaboration with the community. And it's also aligned with the goals of the UN, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainability, those 17 goals. And our Sustainability Council's top agenda items currently are to partner with our global programs and our academic affairs teams to launch, to really look at the programs that we're offering and think about how we are aligning our curriculum or creating a curriculum that has sustainability initiatives on campus, and then follow up with targeted programming that would both be academic programming, but also programming that we could offer to the community through our continuing education unit. We will also be establishing a 3rd green team on the campus, and finally solidifying our partnership with the Abington Environmental Advisory Council and this team right here. So in a recent University Network article, the author Jackson Schroeder talked about the importance that colleges and universities the important role that they play to become more environmentally sustainable, that this is really an initiative across the board. We set ambitious goals as colleges and universities to become carbon neutral. We work on actively developing strategies to limit our greenhouse gas and emissions. But importantly, what he says is that for humanity to mitigate climate change successfully, these schools must expand their efforts beyond their own campuses and into their greater communities. And I couldn't agree with that more. And Penn State Abington is excited to partner with the Abington Climate Action Plan team to address the issues that affect all of us and to really work with you on solving our challenges together. So thank you so much again for letting me say hello tonight, and I look forward to our work together.
Jackie, is this me or you?
This is me. I'm going to do a very, President Spiegelman, I'm going to do a very quick recap of the first meeting. And there's a lot of extra slides in there for those of you who would like to go to our website to review. So basically in 2020, we were selected for the Pennsylvania Department of Public Environmental Protection for the Local Climate Action Plan, where we have a wonderful student who did a greenhouse gas inventory. Next slide, please. And now we're doing the Climate Action Plan. And in the first meeting, we talked about all these wonderful achievements that Abington, our township manager, Rich Manfredi, and key staff, including, next slide, please. The head of our emergency management department, who is also working with the Montgomery County's hazard mitigation plan. So we reviewed these things. Go on, please. And, you know, we also reviewed what's happening locally with climate. So for instance, in the Northeast region, you know, there's a 71% increase in heavy precipitation. Sorry, keep going. And this is just a visual to give you that if we don't do something about our emissions, we're going to be in the red area, and, you know, we want to be in the green area. Keep going. And so these are just a summary of some of the things, but basically Pennsylvania is now experiencing, will continue to experience, we're getting warmer and wetter. Keep going. And it really is an urgent threat, especially when the national security announces, the Department of Defense says, you know, we've got to deal with this. Keep going. And even economically, you know, the world's biggest fund managers and others say, you know, you can't keep doing coal and all these other fossil fuels. Go on. Even, you know, these other fund managers are saying that, you know, they want their clients to be, the businesses to be aligned with the Paris Accord. And even the Kentucky Coal Mining Museum has switched to solar power. Next. So here's another example. And absolutely, there are costs for climate mitigation unless we take actions. And so what we also spent a bit of time on was the health impacts. And this is just a summary wheel showing, you know, the 4 different sectors: in heat, air pollution, insect carrying, and the heat effects, and this other health impacts. Keep going. I love your pace. And indoor air quality. And we also spent a little bit of time about methane and how bad it is and the health consequences. Keep going. And access to care is a real problem, especially, keep going, how this affects communities of color. And lastly, there are, keep going, Pastor, you can go one up, Pastor Marshall Mitchell from Salem Baptist Church, which is the largest church in Abington Township, did a presentation where he focused on what the church is doing environmentally and how they're really in. I mean, they actually just, they have a partnership now since that last meeting with Pennypack Farm, where they're going to be doing some farming there. Next. So what's the role of municipalities? Next. So 1 in 4 Americans right now live in a community committed to such transitioning to clean energy. And this is what it looks like in Montco. More and more communities are joining us. And we've been wonderfully trained by Ready for 100. This is what it looks like through the state. And when our climate action plan, we're now a little green dot, but we want to become a little red dot. Keep going. And so there are 3 parts. You have to commit, and we've already done that with our resolution. You have to plan, and that's why we're doing this now. And the next part is to act. Next. This is just a look around about the template, what it looks like. Keep going. And we were trained by Ready for 100. The training concludes tomorrow in these 4 critical areas to do a municipal as well as a community climate action plan. I'm sorry, a energy transition plan, but basically that's a subset of a climate action plan. So we're really going for a whole big strategy and a lot of different components. Keep going. And these are the 5 milestones of our trainers. So we're now at milestone 1. We hope in a few weeks to have the reduction targets. We have a resolution that we'll be introducing to the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. And now we're at milestone 3. So we really need to get the reduction targets in order to create the climate action plan. Next. This is what a time frame looks like. You can look at that on your own. Next. And these are the steps to create a climate action plan. So we've done the first step of the data collection, and then we're now in the process of phase 2 of emitting the sectors. I'm going to show you that in a minute. And the next phases. Next, please. So this is our greenhouse gas inventory. And you can see that 91% of our greenhouse gas of our emissions are basically from the residential, commercial, industrial, and the transportation sector. So obviously we're going to spend a lot of time in our climate action plan addressing those. Next. This is our historical inventories. I'm a little bit concerned because in 2018, we would have liked to have seen a reduction, but it could also be that we used a different methodology. In the past, we've relied on DVRPC, the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, that does an inventory, very nice one for all municipalities. This was the first time we did it ourselves, but there are also some differences. We got probably more accurate data because we work directly with our public works to get our waste data and some other, we work directly with the players this time. Next. And I did want to call to your attention that this is a real apples for apples, that I'm glad we did it on our own, because we see that, the largest sector is 34% is residential energy. And it's nice that we went down in electricity by 9%. That's probably due to LEDs, but I am very concerned that we went up in natural gas by 8%. And overall, it's a net positive, unfortunately, of 0.5%. Next. In the commercial and industrial side, you'll see that they went down electricity by 1% and natural gas. And they perhaps know some stuff that we need to know and spread among our residents. So we're really happy that we have some key players. This is a mobile and transportation. Probably the decrease is due in the rail transport to the wonderful things that SEPTA does to become more energy efficient. Next. And so this is a summary of a climate action plan. It's basically a comprehensive roadmap to reduce, mitigate our greenhouse gas emissions, but also to increase our resiliency and adapt to climate change while delivering the social, economic, and environmental benefits. Next. And these are the roadmap. We're going to have principles. So when you take that community survey, you'll see we ask about principles, we ask about goals and targets, actions and strategy. And then we also have to include in the plan how we're going to implement this, how we're going to report and really see if we're making progress. Next. And these are the sectors that we're looking at that we'll get into tonight. Next. And then this is an example. For instance, if you want to look at electricity, because that's going to be part of the component, like what's the source? If we have a goal of renewable energy, these are just some actions and strategies and benefits of the components. Next. So this is what the Department of Environmental Protection looks for municipalities. And these are some of the examples. And we're going to talk about this tonight, like energy management, using benchmarking through Portfolio Manager. We actually just worked with a group of Bryn Mawr students to help us with benchmarking. As Dr. Della Caprini said, we actually are a LEED certified community, and we're going for recertified and net zero. So some of these terms you're going to hear up here tonight. And lastly, it says here, learn from best practices within and outside of Pennsylvania. And we have a wonderful speaker from Springfield Township who's going to share with us what they're doing. Next. And there's also community action measures. We have a great, robust rain barrel to town program, over nearly 5% of households. And if you want to get a great deal on a rain barrel, we sell them as low as $40, because all of this work is by donated drums and volunteers. And these are just some other examples, and you're going to hear a lot from the Shade Tree Commission about their amazing efforts. Next. So now I'm going to switch gears and talk about what are examples. So in municipal operations, it's really important to implement these measures and electrification and shift sources to renewable energy. Next. And these are other ways that, in a finite way, looking at your planning, your zoning code, and all the aspects of municipal government. Next. So the big takeaway tonight I want you to hear is that reducing demand. And there's all kinds of ways that we can do that. And the big way is also you can get about halfway there just from energy conservation and efficiency. Next, please. The other big thing is cleaning up the grid. And that's why we're going to talk about electrification. And I want to really compliment the Abington Township Board of Commissioners, because one of the ways we can expedite this is through the Regional Greenhouse Gas or RGGI initiative. And the Board of Commissioners, we were one of the few communities that actually submitted a letter of support. So that's the way to get to, a big way to get to zero energy. Next. And electrification is very, very important for space heating, and it has other applications such as charging station for electric vehicles. Next. And carbon capture, we're going to hear about some of these things, or as it knows for forests, it's known as sequestration. And this is something I want you to look at on your own later. Thanks. Next. So another thing to do as a best practice is to conduct a fleet-wide inventory of our vehicles. We haven't done that, but I have to say kudos to the township, because as a result of our Ready for 100 training, we became aware of EV charging station funding, and we have been given a grant for that we're going to develop how to use in the next 4 months. Next. And also an operational energy audit. If we have time, we'll hear from Peter Wilson from Springside tonight about the great results they got. Next. And benchmarking. As I said, we had that team. So benchmarking basically is you can see from your building how it works against other buildings that are the same type of class. And if you perform better than 75% of the building in the same type of class, like a library, you will be known as you can get certified as an Energy Star. I'd like to compliment the school district. I see that Assistant Superintendent Jim Melcher is on. They do a great job of benchmarking, and kudos to them. Next. I also want to compliment the township, because one of the best practices is to convert your streetlights and traffic signals. And we were one of the very first communities in the Delaware Valley to do that. Next. And a utility bill audit is something that I think we're going to be looking at pretty soon. Next. A Soul Smart program, we'll need volunteers to do this, but basically it's a great program to expedite the permitting process and bring down the costs of solar. Next. And lastly, I see that Commissioner Thompson's on, who's spearheading our township, our Vision 2035 plan. I think we're going to do a good job in integrating energy conservation into our next comprehensive plan and other renewable options. And this is our future and our vision for 2035. Next. This is something that Ready for 100 helped us put us together. And it's just basically, how we're planning. It shows the graph of how we can get to zero emissions by 2050. It shows ways of, I put it all 4 components, but this is just some of the takeaways, like getting homes, how many homes a year we're going to need by 2050 to switch to renewables or electricity, and to encourage the voluntary action. So for instance, 699 housing units a year, these kind of things. Next. And we have the power to do this. And I am so happy to see young people on this slide, because we have some wonderful young people who will be presenting tonight. And I think that I'm done. Let's see, what's next? Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Springfield Township Commissioner Wilson. There's some slides he's going to share, and he's going to be interviewed by Abington Police Department. And Commissioner Spiegelman, I also invite you to help give questions about the wonderful results they got from their energy audit. Thank you very much.
Kaki, excuse me, Kaki, thank you very much. Commissioner Spiegelman, thank you very much for the invitation here. Following along in your presentation, I think that Springfield, your neighbor, is very closely aligned with Abington, as we passed our resolution 1469 January 9th of 2019, which basically set us down the path to renewable electricity energy by 2035 and 100% renewable energy for heating and transportation by 2050. The Board of Commissioners tasked our EAC with moving the whole process forward. And one of the first things that we elected to do was try to establish a review of our brand new municipal campus, where we had 3 buildings. We built a brand new police and administrative building. We built a brand new 21,000 square foot library. We put a green roof on top of it, which was very, very interesting, and it's doing a wonderful job. And we built a brand new municipal service public works facility. So we asked PICO for all the information on these buildings, and we looked at it carefully, and it was determined that we were doing a good job on energy conservation in only one of the 3 buildings, which was a little bit disappointing, because these were brand new buildings, and they were quote unquote built to a very, very high standard of efficiency, although they were not built to obtain a LEED certification, but they were primarily built to LEED standards. So we dug in. We used a consultant, Practical Energy Solutions, out of Westchester, to come in, take a close look at how our buildings were being operated, and make recommendations. And they did that, and they gave us a very nice report. And of course, that all just coincided with the beginning of COVID. So as you can imagine, all the recommendations to tighten up on outside air quality and enhance certain filtration systems had to be put on hold, because obviously, although we did reopen the library and the public police and administrative buildings, we were opening them with COVID compliance regulations, not looking for energy conservation as our number one goal here. So so we have all the information. We have started to, as I'm sure Abington is reopening, starting to implement more of the recommendations, and we expect to see significant savings over the next year or 2 years. We were promised that we'd probably see about $16,000 worth of potential savings by just implementing the recommendations that were in the report. As a second recommendation, we were looking at the opportunity to save energy and reduce our carbon footprint by electrification of our mobile fleets, and the most practical solution for that was the purchase of or 2 hybrid police vehicles, the Ford Interceptors. The commissioners became aware that the police department had requested 2 be replaced in this year, and so we, with consultation with our police and with our consultants, decided that we had never had a hybrid police car before, so we decided to buy one initially and see how it works, and how the officers like the facility, like the operation of it. It's a little bit. It's a Ford. It's really it's the same vehicle, to all intents and purposes that the police drive around in now, but it promises to save or to repay the additional costs, upfront costs, in about 18 months. Well, you can see the savings right there. The great advantage to these cars is that the police apparently spend a lot of time idling and idle, or not moving, not driving forward on any street, doing looking at the paperwork or their assignments. And I would defer to your police department for how they operate. But a large percentage of the time, as we understand it, the vehicle is not moving, but it still needs to be operational. So the savings are basically obtained by whenever the vehicle stops, the engine stops, but the battery pack within the car then provide all the energy that is needed to keep the radios and the computers and the other things that are in the vehicle operational. So regrettably, we've had some delays in the implementation of the vehicle, but we expect to have it on the road this week, and we're looking forward to seeing how operationally it performs. Hopefully, if it does well and everybody likes it, we'll buy another one this year, and then we're scheduled to buy 2 a year for the next basically 6 or 7 years, which would basically turn over our entire fleet into a hybrid fleet, saving a lot of fuel costs and certainly reducing our carbon load. The plan is that at some point in time, undoubtedly, somebody's going to come out, probably Ford, with a all-electric police vehicle. And if you were following the news just last week, they introduced their very popular Ford 150 series pickup truck in an all-electric version. And so certainly the technology is there. So we're hoping that maybe even before the 6 or 7 year cycle is up, we will be able to buy true replacement all electric vehicles going forward, and save the township even more money and reduce the carbon footprint.
That's fantastic, Peter. Could I interrupt and
Yes,
ask
please.
if our police department and our township board of commissioners president have questions? I mean, we can go through the slides. I think you've already gone through the energy transition part, but we
Yep.
wanted to give them the opportunity. Like, how did you convince people to do this? And I want to see if our police people have questions to ask you. I see that Lieutenant McGee is here, and our Deputy Chief of Police, Kelly Warner, is here.
Hi, Mr. Wilson. Kelly Warner here from the PD. Great job, by the way. I did have an opportunity to speak with Chief Pitko, and he seems pretty pleased with the vehicle. And I've done a little bit of research, and unfortunately, Deputy Chief Porter, who handles the fleet and negotiation for the fleet, more importantly, he's the money guy. Couldn't be present tonight, but we did talk about it, and he did tell me that it only costs about $3,500 more on the onset. As you pointed out, and thank you for doing that, it doesn't take that long to recoup the benefit, that money, that outlay. So in the long run, of course, we would make up that money. And you're right, majority of the time, or much of the time, the officers, that's their office. The police car is their office. And as Commissioner Spiegelman knows, he came on a ride along. I don't know how many years ago was that? That was probably 8 years ago or more. It could
2 ride-alongs. I've been on 2 ride-alongs.
Yeah, at least. And although we did a lot of driving, that was my office. He sat in my office. And so the car sits running most of the time because it's, we're in Pennsylvania, so it's either hot or cold. You don't turn the car off when you're sitting. So you have the heat on or the air conditioner on. So that's why that happens, to explain to the folks that are listening. So we're very open and interested in this, as whatever.
I'm sure Chief Pitko can keep you fully informed as to the progress that we're making. And
Most
my
definitely.
understanding is the car is, although we've had it for about a month, is going to actually go on patrol at the end of this week.
That's great. And I would like to see it. So I'll definitely give Mike a jingle and have him, once they get some time for that, maybe get it down here. And the vendor, they often will give the car as well so that we can play with it for a while. But I know Lieutenant McGee, we were kibitzing a while today. Kevin, you had a question, I thought. Maybe.
Yeah, I was just, I actually had two questions. I know, Commissioner Wilson, thank you for your time. I know you said you had some delays. Were they administrative, or were they just some roadblocks that came up unexpected, or COVID delays?
I think probably some of each.
Okay.
But apparently, as we take the responsibility for installing all of the, quote, police equipment into the car, that has to go on to some kind of a schedule. And I think, unfortunately, with the COVID stuff, it was delayed a little bit. So it wasn't a delay from the Ford. We got the car pretty much as promised, actually ahead of promised. It's just our getting it into service was the issue. But we're hoping that's all behind us, and we're hoping to get it on patrol by the end of the week.
And I saw you, the gas, certainly important, the cost. Did somebody look into the maintenance costs? I was just curious if there are more maintenance costs with a hybrid, or even looking down the road with an electric vehicle, what kind of maintenance costs? Just like you said, the police cars are idling for very long periods of time, and it does add engine hours on there, which leads to maintenance issues a lot of the time.
Yeah, I will confess to owning a totally electric car. And my experience with my totally electric car is that there are no maintenance costs. Basically, the car is almost free once you pay for it. Now, obviously, you still have an engine in the interceptors, and it still has many more moving parts than a totally electric car. But my guess is that, and from the information that we reviewed prior to the acquisition, and these things have been on the road, I think, for about 3 years.
Yep.
I think the earlier ones might have had some issues, but the later ones seem to be very reliable from the people that we've talked to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess then our only other concern was we want to make sure that our mechanics are up to speed on that. I know that originally that was one of our first concerns a couple of years ago, that that's an easy transition for the mechanics.
Yeah. Again, we don't have any firsthand information about it, but what we're told is that it's not an issue.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're all in to give it a shot. As I said, I spoke with Deputy Chief Porter, and he was he's at a conference, and he was with the vendor today. And we're going to take a look at that once with Mike Pitko and take a look at that car, and Khaki and Commissioner, we're going to look into it.
Oh yeah. Ford wants to sell these things. So
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll bring one out and give you any kind of test drive you want.
well, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
And then some.
I'm going to move the conversation to the next. Is that all right with you guys?
Sure.
If we move to so I think the big takeaway for our audience is that, if the 61% of Springfield's greenhouse gas emissions are from their fleets, and we're pretty similar here in Abington.
Yeah.
And the biggest part of our fleet, same as for Springfield, are our police vehicles. And
Hands
we may
down.
have, and we may have a different path. For instance, we may want to get a all electric hybrid, or not a hybrid, but an all electric vehicle for our code enforcement, like a little runaround car, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely true from our Ready for 100 training that the upkeep and maintenance is far, far less for all electric vehicles than it is, for an internal combustion engine. So, thank everybody very, very much. And you can look at the rest of the presentation. It was a good investment to do the energy audit. I think it costs $7,200 and they already are saving quite a bit. So it's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Kathy,
Great,
can I
thanks.
just quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Can I
Go
quickly
ahead.
jump in with a quick, just a quick
Please.
question or two for Commissioner Wilson? First of all, Commissioner Wilson, thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome to Abington, and make yourself at home. I was wondering, how long had your new municipal buildings been in operation before the survey determined that 2 of the 3 of them were not operating, with the energy efficiency, environmental efficiency
Right.
that had been expected?
Yeah. So the buildings were fully complete towards the end of 2018. We looked at almost a year's worth of data. If that
Okay.
answers your, that answers
No, that's
your
yeah,
question.
no, that's great. And then my other question is, are you currently looking into replacing any of your other municipal vehicles? Like, I'm thinking obviously police vehicles are very heavy duty in their own way, but sort of the heavy lift vehicles like trash and recycling trucks and whatnot. Are you looking into that at all?
Well, we provide our own trash service. We have our own trash trucks. We have begun to look at some of these heavy vehicles and to see what's available in the marketplace. And from what we can determine quickly is that while the more conventional, like police cruisers and things are fairly comparable in price to a regular vehicle, when you talk about dump trucks and forklifts and things like that, they have not apparently been in the trash trucks. They have not been in the quantity yet to really bring those prices down. So you still have a very, very large premium if you want to buy an electric or a hybrid trash truck. In the close to $100,000 premium at this point in time. So we're not entertaining that as a viable option at this point in time.
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
know
Thank
that
you.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for answering those questions. And again, thank you for your presentation and your time and your insight to our neighbor, Commissioner Wilson. Kaki, my apologies. Go right ahead.
No. I just want to say that I know our Public Works Department is monitoring electric trash trucks in Brooklyn, and they're looking at some of those factors. So we'll keep you informed because that's definitely on our radar. I see that somebody asked a question about are indeed electric vehicles more environmentally friendly. I will say this, that when you directly burn carbon or gasoline, that's known as a direct emissions, and that's not a good thing. And so unequivocally, I can tell you that switching to an all-electric vehicle is definitely far less greenhouse gas emissions. But I will send out a follow-up email when I have more time to explain. And thank you, anonymous attendee, for asking that very good question. Should we go to the next part? Oh, here we go.
Hi there. My name is Patricia Gallagher, and I'm a professor of civil architectural and environmental engineering at Drexel University. I'm also an associate of the Shade Tree Commission. If you're interested in our work, there's a web link there. And I'm also a member of the Vision 2035 Comprehensive Plan team. And there's a link there to see our progress on the comprehensive plan. If you're interested in coming out to volunteer with the Shade Tree Commission, this is one of our recent events where we had the Abington Environmental Science Club and some of our neighbors and commissioners come out to help us do some work at the Ardsley Wildlife Sanctuary. Next slide, please. So before we discuss specific climate action strategies, I wanted to just distinguish between climate mitigation and climate adaptation. So climate mitigation includes actions that reduce the emissions that contribute to climate change, as shown on the left in the circle. And climate adaptation includes actions that minimize or prevent the negative impacts of climate change, as shown on the right. And then in the middle, in that overlapping area, there are strategies that both mitigate and adapt to climate change. Next slide, please. So with that as a backdrop, let's consider land use and green space. So the goal for this section of the plan is to maximize Abington's urban green space and tree canopy for a lot of different reasons. We want to promote carbon sequestration. We want to increase residents' access to active and passive open space. We want to reduce the urban heat island effects, which I'll talk about in a few slides, improve the urban ecosystem, improve stormwater management, and add to aesthetic beauty. And we want to do all of this while we're increasing property values. So we can define Abington Township's collection of trees, other vegetation, and water as an urban forest. So protecting green space is essential to sustaining the natural environment, and we rely on the natural environment for everything we need to survive as a species, as well as our public health, property values, and community. So the next two slides, which are courtesy of Davey Tree, show just some of the benefits of trees. Next slide, please, including a lot of economic, environmental, and social aspects. And if you'll flip to the next slide, we can actually assign dollar values to many of these benefits. So it's estimated that for every dollar we invest in a tree, we get back about $4 in various benefits. So now let's talk about the Abington Shade Tree Commission and what we're doing to protect and enhance our urban forest. So last year, the township drafted its first master tree action plan, and this creates a roadmap for sustaining our urban forest and green space. So there are three main goals to sustain our urban forest. And the first is to increase education and engagement with citizens and community service organizations in understanding and valuing our urban forest. So our tree canopy covers both private and public land. So it's extremely important to engage citizens in our sustainability efforts. We also want to preserve and grow the tree canopy. In the last 13 years, our tree canopy has decreased from 48% to 42%, and that number represents a loss of 1 in every 8 trees in just 13 years. So a lot of this loss can be attributed to increases in grass coverage and in paved areas. And then we want to improve our canopy quality and location. And we have strategies for doing that, but in the interest of time, I will just leave it at that and say that our master tree plan will be available publicly in just a few weeks. And it was developed after conducting a really careful assessment of our existing tree canopy. So can you click on the story map link and see if it works? And if it doesn't work, then I will, I have some slides to show you. Or can I click on, I can't click on it myself. Actually, you know, we can just advance to the next slide. Yeah, sorry, okay.
Are you seeing it? Sorry.
Yes, thanks. Can you click on the Abington's urban tree canopy? Oh, so yeah, that one. Okay, so this figure is an overlay of the 2017 Google Earth Aerial Heat Index. So higher temperatures are shown in red and lower temperatures are shown in green. So, and the underneath figure, the underlaying figure shows our tree cover. So if you look at the urban heat island effect, which is measured by this heat index, if you look in the top of the figure, you see a square that's in red, and that's Willow Grove Mall. And you also, if you look in the bottom of the figure, you'll see a triangular area. That's the fairway, right? So we know we have very little tree cover in both of those areas. Now, if you go over to the left-hand side of the figure, you see a big green area. That's Hillside Cemetery and Ardsley Cemetery, and it has Ardsley Wildlife Sanctuary in that as well. We know we have a lot of tree cover there. And what happens is trees help to mitigate this heat island effect. So they cool things off. And of course, I can talk with you for hours about this. I'm very passionate about it, but I'm trying to help us just inform the climate action plan. So this master tree plan really dovetails nicely with the climate action plan. Actually, I'm sorry, can you also just click on, if you just advance 2 more slides, I think, in the presentation. Sorry, go back to the.
You scroll down.
Or yeah, you could, yeah, actually, yes, this is the figure. That's great. This also shows our tree canopy coverage by ward. So you can see in the darker green, we have some wards that have much denser tree coverage. And then you see lighter colored areas where we have many fewer trees. So in closing, I'd like to just go on to some of the strategies that we intend to implement for the land use and green space section of the climate action plan. And these are strategies that are already discussed in some form in the master tree plan, but they include reviewing and updating land use ordinances and zoning to encourage land use patterns that mitigate climate change impacts, review new developments through a lens of sustainability, develop a green infrastructure plan to help us better manage stormwater and filter pollutants and improve public health, and prioritize green space development in areas that are underserved with trees right now. Also to update tree ordinances, both to protect existing large trees that sequester a lot of carbon, but also prioritize and preserve native species of plants and trees and climate resistant species. So again, this is a very high level overview, and I'll be very happy to answer questions during the question and answer session at the end. And please come out and join us at one of our volunteer events. We'd love to see you.
Trish, so, because we know the big effects of climate change in Pennsylvania are going to be that we're going to get warmer and wetter. I can't emphasize enough, I know you can't, about that trees address both those issues.
Absolutely. Trees soak up a
Yep.
lot of stormwater, and they both dry out the soil, and then they evapotranspire. They drink up the water and then they emit it, and that's a process called evapotranspiration, and that both helps to mitigate the flooding, but it also helps to cool things down. Trees are a wonderful benefit. We really need more.
And they also sink, or they absorb the carbon. So,
And they also absorb carbon. Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Is this you,
Andrea.
online?
Yeah. So this is my name is Andrea Sue. I am, like Khaki, and a member of the Abington Township's Environmental Advisory Council. And I'll just go over a couple of slides about how you, as all stakeholders, can help us develop the climate action plan. So there are 3 primary ways in which you can contribute your ideas, sharing your ideas. The first is an online survey, which is at this link that's posted here. It will be available through July 1st, as Commissioner Spiegelman had mentioned earlier in the beginning. We can get into that a little bit later. In the interest of time, I may not kind of dive too deep into that, but basically suffice it to say that it is 11 questions. And within that survey, there will be some interactive links that will help explain some terms like GHG inventory, greenhouse gas inventory, just to help you along to understand what some of the questions mean. There's also a community mapping tool, as we discussed in our first public meeting. We did develop a tool in which we can crowdsource information based on everyone's input. And we can probably get into that link shortly. And then lastly, there will be some live polling if we have some time later in this meeting. So in the next slide, I think we will dive a little bit more into this community survey. So I guess, Ashley, if you can click on this link, we can just sort of give people a sense of what this survey looks like. I don't know if you can click on that active link or not. I don't think I have control. Okay, so here's the, so this link is available. If you go to abingtonpa.gov, you will find this link to the survey itself. But if you scroll down, you'll see how the questions are laid out. It's kind of a little bit of a sliding scale on how to answer some of these questions. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see that we have some active links here, which will define some terms if you're not sure. So this is something that you can complete on your own time. And then, so for the climate mapping tool, this is a great interactive map. This will give you kind of a quick summary, just kind of like a dialogue that will define some things. On the top left here, you'll see a little bit of a toolbar, which will give you some options. There's a legend which defines what some of the different criteria are that we use to define what a climate hazard will be. If you click on that magnifying glass, you can actually enter an address if you so choose. Alternatively, you can also just click directly on the map to add a dot to, and actually on the bottom right, yeah. Oh, here's something that we added. There's two criteria that we added as an example. This one here is, let's see, this one is, oh, that's a point that we added for ice storms. If you click on the tornado symbol, you'll see that this was another example that we added. If you scroll down, there might be even some pictures that were posted on the right-hand side there. You'll see under comments. Let me see if there's any.
Right above comments, if you click on that little blue icon, you'll see there's some pictures.
Okay, I didn't see those pictures, but suffice it to say that when you add a point to identify a climate hazard, you can add your criteria. That's right, click submit a climate issue, yep. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see all the fields that you will populate based on drop-down menus. And then you can add comments. There's an optional place where you can add your name and your contact information if you so choose. And then of course you can add photos of the climate hazard. If it's like a high flood area, you can add photographs from your neighborhood to identify what it looks like, to just help define a little bit more detail what the climate hazards are. So it's pretty easy to use. You just can play around with it. Everyone can access this right now. If you go to abingtonpa.gov and then just search for climate action plan, you'll see all of that. You'll see the survey at the same location as the climate interactive map, and then all the information about what we're doing for the climate action plan. So that's
Thank
just
you,
kind of
Andrea. Sorry, my
yeah,
computer
it's okay.
may have a meltdown. I have a lot open, so it's not typically this slow. It does move a lot faster, but you did a great job describing it.
Yeah, and yeah, I was actually using it earlier on my own. I had no issues with it stalling like this, but it could just be a function of the presentation, being part of the presentation. So you can jump out of this and you can go back to the slide. So yeah, so for the climate survey, we did have already 25 people participate, their responses. So this is just the preliminary results based on those responses. So on the left-hand side, you'll see in the order of priority, how people basically submitted what they believe should be prioritized. And obviously greenhouse gas emissions was #1, and then energy savings, and then tied at third are benefits to the community, as well as having equitable outcomes. And the remaining 5th place and beyond are related to long-term infrastructure improvements, as well as jobs and opportunities. On the right-hand side is, we asked a question about how we should approach our climate action plan, setting goals that are, from anywhere from setting goals with really high ambitions down to setting ambitions based on what is, economically or technically feasible. And you can see it's pretty split evenly across the 4 different approaches. And in the next slide, I think we will be discussing the live polling. Oh yeah, this is So yeah, so this, I think we'll probably have Kaki take the lead on introducing the community polling.
Thank you so much, Andrea. So we're going to be doing some polling pretty quickly on these 4 areas. And we'd also like the people, the young people especially, to introduce themselves and just share for a minute or so about why they're here tonight, why this is so important. And then we'll be getting into trying to find your priorities and how you feel about these areas. So we're going to move from person to person. I'm also, at this point, I'm very happy that Eloise Hargaden from, I see that's Commissioner Weingrad brought her to an EAC meeting, and she's going to talk about her passions. We have other great people. So with that, let's move to Willow Neski.
Hi everyone, I'm Willow Neski. I graduated from Abington Senior High School in 2019, and I'm currently an honors student at Temple University, and I'm majoring in bioengineering with a minor in environmental engineering. I'm particularly passionate about sustainable biotechnology. I'm currently working on research in stormwater best management practices. And in the past, during high school, I helped manage and fundraise $13,000 for Abington Senior High School's H2O for Life Club. And on the next slide, I think that there is a poll, the first poll of the building strategies. And I believe that there will be instructions in the chat for how to answer the building strategies poll. It'll ask you to share your views on 10 listed strategies and to rank them, these priorities, in order of importance to you.
So we need to put in the Menti link, or just we can just do it from there? Okay. All right, so we got to do, okay.
The link has also been added to the Q&A.
Great.
So you can visit www.menti.com, that's MENTI.com, and enter code 22076100. And if you can keep that screen open as we go through the questions, they will automatically be prompted on your screen or phone.
I don't see a link in the Q&A section. Could that be provided?
Yes, it's the answered.
Oh.
Are you seeing it now?
No, under answered, it's the anonymous attendee with their electrical vehicle question.
Well,
Oh, I know why. It's because you have to uncollapse. You have to expand where it says Ashley, the first person. You'll want to show all. Click on show all, and you'll see the Abington Zoom administrator has a link for that poll.
and then to enter the code, I don't see a field on the Menti screen, or you just go to menti.com and then do it that way. Okay.
The code at the top, 22076100.
I see. You want to play some Jeopardy music while we do this?
Can you tell me again how to get the link on the question and answer section, because I don't see it.
Are you seeing this screen at the very top of the screen? It says go to www.menti.com. Do you see that?
Oh, I see that. I was just hoping there would be a link. I'm a little.
No, it's okay. If you click on the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, if you press on the little comment buttons, you'll see there under answered. If you go to answered, you can press, you'll see Ashley, if you press show all, and then there's a link in that comment area.
Oh, okay. All right.
You put the code in the chat so that we can just type it in the code. You just put in your URL menti.com and then you type in 22076100. You'll see it says submit.
Yeah, it's not letting it.
Let's see if it works.
Why it's not
Okay.
showing up in the Q&A, but unfortunately, I'm not able to send out a message to everyone.
Okay,
through-
there it is.
I
Willow
was
put it
able
in.
to open
Thanks.
it now.
Willow did it. Great. Thanks.
That works. Thank you.
Are you able to monitor when you get a good response? Oh, there we go. It's cool. It's showing it live. Okay.
Takes some time to read through the questions, so thank you
Huh?
everybody for sticking with it.
Good job.
So these are our live results coming
Yes.
in.
Yes,
Fantastic.
thank you everybody for bearing with us through the technical aspect of this. We are testing it out tonight. So.
So there's in the Q&A, like Kathy Gauthier, I see that you're having, you basically type in your URL menti.com and then you put that code in and you'll bring up the questions. We don't have a chat. We're using a Q&A to communicate. Sorry about that.
I did it on my phone and it was fine. I just typed it in on my phone. It was good to go.
Okay,
I just expanded it for more time, but
great.
I will leave it up to you when you'd like to close it out.
All right, I'll do one round of Jeopardy music and then we'll close it out. How about that? Does that make sense?
You have to sing the Jeopardy music. You can't play it.
I can't play it.
You can play it. Do what you need to do.
Looks like we're done.
We're done?
Yeah, we haven't gotten any. So
Okay. Okay.
I lied. Somebody slid right in there.
Oh, okay. Is it show that 18 people have responded in the bottom
Yes.
corner of the screen?
Okay.
If you stay on that page, I guess the present will. Okay.
I will jump. Do we want to discuss this now, or do you want me to jump to back to the PowerPoint?
We could do it in the Q&A, but it looks like people, do respond. And I think in our report, I think we're way over time. So why don't we go back? Is that all right if we move around? We'll just move to the next question. Let's go to the
continue.
next presenter.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, hello, that's me. I am Kathy Ackler, and I'd like to thank Kathy for including me in the list of young people. So thanks, Kathy. That was nice of you to say that. So I have an environmental background. I went to Temple University. I got my bachelor's in environmental science, and then I have my master's in hydrogeology. So basically geology master's. And I've been passionate about environmental issues my whole life. especially since high school as I went into an environmental career. I worked for an environmental consulting firm for a while, but currently I am teaching a course at Temple University. The course is on natural disasters, so we cover a range of topics, but one of the big ones is, of course, climate change. So with studying more about climate change and the scientific data that has been collected showing that it is real and it is important, and not only that, it's increasing, it's a positive feedback loop, and global warming is leading to more global warming. And with all of that going on, I want to do my part to help start somewhere. So with climate change, it's a global issue, but I like to think of the saying, you think globally, but act locally. So I'm happy to be here tonight helping our township start, this process of writing or finish the process of writing the climate change action plan. And I'm happy to be helping with that. So that's who I am. I've been a resident here for almost 9 years, and it's good to be a part of this tonight. So that's all about me. So again, we're going to do our next poll question. This one will deal with transportation and mobility, but again, we'll have to go through the link to access the questions online. So same link, is that correct?
So if your browser is still open or it's on your mobile device, you should now see the new question. If not, you can access it again at www.menti.com and enter code 2207-6100.
So it looks like that bike mobility and safety improvements and creating a bike map or a community map is in the lead, as well as incentives for public transit, biking and walking. Okay, you think we're ready to move on? Let's load up the next slide. Oh, so it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to Eloise. This is a picture of Eloise when she came to our Environmental Advisory Council meeting and wanted to get the word out about reducing waste. Take it away, Eloise.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. It feels very good to be back. My third grade class participated in writing on this poster about what they think about the environment, and I picked out some of my favorites. One small thing may lead to a huge thing. Live. When we clean, we produce less trash. And the less trash we have, the cooler the earth. Zara. I think that we should recycle because it's better for the planet. Tegan. Recycle plastic. Lucas. Plant trees and pick up trash. Nat. The earth is not your trash can. Zoe. Do this one simple thing. Don't litter. Max. Next slide, please. Yes. So now we will be doing the polling questions, I guess. Question.
That was terrific. Thank you so much. Anything else, Eloise?
No, not really.
Well, you keep on shining. You're great.
That was awesome, Eloise.
Okay, we're just about. I think we're ready for the next question. Next presenter.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zakila Chapman. I'm currently a senior at Drexel University, majoring in environmental science. Through Drexel, I'm participating in an internship with the Department of Environmental Protection, which has allowed me to be a part of Abington's LCAP writing process. We started by doing the greenhouse gas emissions, and I am currently working on writing the CAP. I spent the entire day working on it today. Some other things that I'm involved with, I do urban ecology research on green space access as to how it relates to mental health, as well as people who are poor or from minority backgrounds, their not willingness, the likelihood of them having a strong STEM identity that will lead them to have a career in STEM. That relates to my passion about environmental justice, sustainability, and accessibility. I completed a certificate in renewable energy from Reykjavik, Iceland, back in December 2018. I'm currently a research assistant at the Academy of Natural Science in the Wetlands Lab, and we're looking at how sea level rise relates to coastal wetlands and forest changing. Also a part of the co-op that I'm on right now is I'm being contracted as an auditor for the Delaware Estuary Basin's technical report, and we're looking for social justice considerations in the document. The poll question that we're going to have next is about climate justice, community education, and engagement.
Thank you. As ever, you are awesome. I may be wrong, but it looks like this area has so far the highest priorities across the board. So you did I think your story, Akila, is very inspirational. So keep on shining.
Thank you.
I think we're ready to move on to our last poll and presenter.
Hi, my name is Valerie Neski. I apologize that my webcam isn't working right now, but I'm a senior at Abington, and at Abington I co-founded and I'm the co-president of the Abington Environmental Club, and I volunteer a lot with the Shade Tree Commission. And so what our club does is we do a lot of volunteering with the Shade Tree Commission, and we also do some other events like we got the school to start using biodegradable paper straws, and when the pandemic first happened, like last year, we did a fundraiser for like reusable cloth masks, and we donated them to local businesses and retirement homes. And next fall, this upcoming fall, I will be a freshman at Princeton. And so the next polls we are going to do are related to adaptation and green space strategies. So that should be showing up on your device.
Thank you. So I see that when you complete the survey, it brings you to a window where you can enter your email and you can get the results, but we'll also be sharing the results. Great. Okay. So I just want to thank you while we have a chance. We have some wonderful people on the call tonight and, who joined us. I want to thank all of you. I see that we have Briar Bush. Like I said, we have our State Representative Ben Sanchez. I know that Commissioner Spiegelman will also talk. We have Mike Thompson as well as Stuart Weidenbrad, our commissioners, and other, we have Jaquilla Holt from the Comm Society and just wonderful people. So thank you all. We have Adrian Redd from Jenkintown's EAC. So I just want to thank you. If I didn't mention, we have the Ken Fenauer from the Citizens Climate Lobby and Kishan Patel, who's a student, as well as, I thought I saw another student here. But thank you all for making it your business to attend tonight. And Valerie Bloom, thank you. Okay, so here's our approach. I want you all to know that our next public meeting is in a few weeks. It's on Monday, June 21st. Is that going to be in person, Ashley, or will it be by Zoom? We don't know yet.
I believe it can be by Zoom if you'd like to,
Okay.
or by person. I shouldn't say or by person. I believe at this point it is by Zoom
Okay.
due to the emergency declaration of the governor, but.
Okay, good. All right, well, we'll get that out. And, and this is our timeline and goal. Okay, so in the next slide, these are the ways to stay engaged. And we're going to keep this slide up while we look for questions and answers that you submit. So raise your hand, please, if you have some questions. I don't see any.
There are some questions in the Q&A as well. The written form.
Open. Oh, let me see. Okay.
So I can read. We do have a question.
Oh, okay.
Anyone use SolSmart as a contractor? My experience is that it is bloated and not helpful for anyone who has knowledge of solar.
So Ben, thanks for asking the question. SolSmart is actually not a contractor. It's a program that it may sound something like SolSmart, but SolSmart is a municipal program. It's not a contractor. It's basically a program to help municipalities expedite solar in their communities. It's something that I think you would like. The DVRP, Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, helps communities also, but it's basically a methodology to make it easier on contractors to be able to install. And actually now they have a program that they've established, not just through SolSmart, but with some other, where you can actually get a lot of the permitting. It's an online application. It's pretty neat where they actually match across different states and different municipalities what are the contracts. So it really makes it easier on municipal staff. It drastically reduces the time. So we would not be, as a municipality, we wouldn't be pushing a contractor per se, but there are also, I can see why you're asking the question. There are local programs in Philadelphia that you have a buying cooperative for people who want to get solar. And that's something, that we could look at. There's some really strong programs in Philly. And actually, if someone wanted to get solar residential, we can put you, there's a group in Montgomery County that would be more than willing to walk with you.
Another question is what if we would like more bikes, but not public chargers?
Well, I guess why can't you do both?
I think it might have been in the poll. They may have been.
Yeah.
Another question is, are we still using Roundup in any public spaces? That we could get back to someone. I do not know the answer to that, but we could.
This is Trish, and I don't know the answer to that either, but I will say I don't approve of using Roundup in general, but there are certain intractable invasive species that you cannot get rid of without controlled application of herbicides. So I don't use any herbicides or pesticides in my property. And I only, they're only appropriate when you have these very intractable invasive species.
Thank you.
And I would,
Khaki, can I really quickly jump in on that one as
yeah,
well?
sure.
So I know in the past, and this hasn't happened in a while, but the county used something Roundup or something similar to Roundup for spraying spraying of certain roadways, and similar to the program. I'm sorry, take that back. Not the county, PennDOT. PennDOT used something similar to Roundup for spraying along state roads. So that might be a question for that could be redirected to them to see if that's still something that they plan to do in the future.
I'm just going to add, don't use Roundup, okay? My husband died of multiple myeloma and I couldn't get him to stop using Roundup, so
bad stuff.
I'll leave it at that, all right? Don't use it.
We also received a question regarding the mention that natural gas use in residential applications is up while it's down in commercial applications. Was there a drop in home heating oil use? And how many oil users are switching over to gas? Could this be causing the spike?
We're going to be doing additional analysis with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. I would say that in home heating oil use, that's really hard data to get, they told us. And so it could be, but I think for home heating oil use, we probably had that data extrapolated as opposed to getting, because we got our data directly from PECO and the water department utilities, but for home heating oil, we weren't able to get it. And I think DVRPC's process is they look at the regional and then they kind of extrapolate it. So I can't give you a straight answer on that. You know, we did the best that we could, but it could be, but I don't think, you know, you would think that if how many oil users switching over to gas, it would definitely drop our greenhouse gas emissions. I would think, but it's hard to say. It's, you know, for home heating oil, we just don't have the data on that. Hope that answers your question, Commissioner Thompson. And Commissioner Weingrad, this was something that Commissioner Thompson, in terms of plastic bags, and Commissioner Spiegelman were discussing, but then the pandemic hit. So, you know, that's why in a lot of these recommendations, we thought about, you know, this is a collaborative, and to get people to buy into it, you know, we want to get the businesses involved so that we can make plans with them and not for them in terms of stop using plastic bags. Or we could look to pass an ordinance the way Narberth and was it Westchester, but definitely Philadelphia. And I know that's your passion, Commissioner Weingrad, so thank you.
And I believe that is all the questions.
Okay. All right, so please, you know, look at these ways to get engaged. And we also have, I'm not going to turn it now, but we'll send a follow-up email. We've actually created a, thanks to Paula Klein, who's been on this call, we created an approach, these approaches for both residents, businesses, and institutions, and especially schools. For community-wide actions. We've ramped it up a little bit what Paula created. We have some links and put some additional information in there. So please look at this, and this will show you exactly how to get started right now. And our next meeting is on Monday, June 21st. So I'll leave it to you, President Spiegelman, to close us out. And thanks everybody so much for attending, and spread the word, please.
Little more than I could say than to add my thanks as well. Oh, there's the music. Yeah, let's see that video again. Again, no, thanks so much to everyone, to all of our presenters of all ages, from elementary students through college students and college students to be all the way through graduate school and regular old adulthood. Can't wait to see everybody back here on June 21st. And again, thanks once again for being part of Change for Good.